There we go. We're here. We're on.
We're
A
in.
warm welcome back to everyone here from Online Darts. Back again for the Fallout Bar. Myself, Charlie Hopper, and Cam, taking you through all of day two's action. Again, a full weekend of darting action. We'll be having a look at the games that have happened today, letting you know about the permutations from these in terms of the groups, and looking ahead to tomorrow's gripping action. But firstly, Cam, another busy day of darting action. How did you find it today?
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a decent day, to be honest. I've had not much on today, which has been nice because I've been pretty busy the last few days. So it's been good to actually be able to sit down and watch it and sort of see how everyone's getting on and see a little bit more of the action. I think we've seen some really good stuff at times as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just so back to back, isn't it? This early stage of the tournament when everyone's playing, games back to back to each other, and there's so much going on. But now that we're sort of coming to the latter stages of the group matches, every single leg counts, doesn't it? At this point.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Now we're at that point, especially like obviously for some people today, it's already counted and they've already made their way through without having to worry about tomorrow or Tuesday's games, which is for them obviously just a little weight off and it's less of a worry going into tomorrow. But then for others, it's kept them in sort of contention for going through. Where lost a little bit earlier, they may have been out of there as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for the people who are watching at the moment, of course, thank you for tuning in. We may have some interview clips for you tonight. That's not a guarantee. There wasn't any last night, but as you can imagine, a lot of matches to run through. So if there isn't any tonight, then they'll be available on our social media channels on YouTube. So you know exactly where you can get them if you want any post-match reaction, which Phil will have got. So Cam, we'll start off. I guess the best place to start is Group A. Two enthralling matches, and I guess the latter being Gerwyn Price and Raymond van Barneveld, the game that I was looking forward to the most. But the one that kick-started us in the group was Dave Chisnell versus Ted Everts. And Ted Everts did well early on. He was 2-0. He was 2-0 down. He came back to 2-2. But I guess Chizzy just seemed to have too much for him on the day.
Yeah, I think that was it really. Like you say, it was just a case of the class told a little bit in the end from Chizzy, and he needed it as well. To be fair, he was in a little bit of bother, and to come out of it, I mean, it's a top class performance. I mean, I know we always see better averages in this tournament than we will in a longer format. Obviously, if somebody plays a couple of particularly good legs, it makes more of an impact. But yeah, to average over a ton and get it done pretty comfortably and well on the doubles as well, which he had an absolute horror show with yesterday. Against when he played Barney in the first game. So yeah, that'll have made him feel a lot better, I think, going into his final game.
And I guess it shows the dominance of Chizzy in the fact that Ted Everts only had 3 chances as a double. 2 he took and 1 he didn't. But I guess in games like this, when it is first to 5, you've got to take your opportunity when it comes.
You have. It's relentless, this short format, isn't it? Like you're in and out of there without blinking. You miss a couple of doubles and you might not ever get another shot. So yeah, I mean, like you say, it was a pretty solid performance from Ted to get back to 2 each. And like you say, he was playing pretty well at that stage, but Chizzy just kind of didn't give him an opportunity after that.
And I guess the game I touched on there prior to that was probably the most eye-watering game that we'd seen throughout the day, throughout this Sunday of action, and that was of Gerwyn Price and Raymond van Barneveld locking horns. What did you make of Barney? Because that was some performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was slightly tempted to throw the old Voldemort gif in the chat earlier. Like, he's back. Yeah, I'm not sure many of us had him beating Gezi today. Certainly, or even being unbeaten through 2 games against Chizzy and against Gezi. Yeah, probably not something that many of us saw coming, but another really strong performance from him. And well, I mean, I'm not 100% sure on this one. We'll come to this later on in terms of the permutations of tomorrow, but he's in pole position for getting through.
Yeah, I think somewhere it said that he quite literally has clinched his foot now in is the foot now is into the next round, which again is is quite incredible. And a quick word on Barney before we move on to Group B. I guess he left it all for himself to do. He was 4-3 down. He had to break the Going Price throw, and we know how impressive Going can be on throw. That's quite incredible, really, to break his throw and then go and throw for the match and win.
Yeah, and that's it. And then, like you say, to then close it out, really solid 15-dart leg to close it out as well. So just no bother at all, even with the fact that he did only get one dart at a double at the end of it, and that one dart that he had at the double was with Gezi sitting on 24 at that point as well. Mm-hmm. So really good under pressure and impressive, to be fair, for him.
Yeah. Well, you talked there about the permutations for Group A, and it kind of seems fitting to let everyone know exactly the situation in that. So Ted Everts is at the foot of the table. He's on no points from 2 games. His next game is against Rijn van Barneveld, and the next match is between Going Price and Dave Chisnell as well. So I think Barney's now through.
He will be through. He
has qualified on 4 points, 2 wins from his 2 games. But that's quite a mouth-watering tie between Going Price and Dave Chisnell. The winner will essentially go through.
Yeah, that's it. Essentially, they're in the knockout stage already, and it sometimes can work quite well for the person who comes through it, in the fact that they've already had that pressure of basically playing a knockout game before then going into the actual knockout stages, as we saw a little bit this morning with the England cricket team getting it done. But yeah, they had that same situation. It was winning in. And now essentially went on and wrapped it up. So yeah, could work out well for whoever comes through that one as well.
Yeah. Well, Colin George is in the chat room. He says evening Cam and Charlie and Cam. So evening Colin, thanks for joining us this evening. Now into Group B. I have to say, whilst I was watching the one game we're going to talk about first in Mensah Suljovic and Christian Perez, Cam, complete contrast to the cricket this morning. It was a pretty dire game, hard to watch, very slow paced, but Mensah somehow got the job done.
Yeah, I mean, we know what we're going to get when we're watching Mensah. He's never going to be flying up to the hockey and sort of racing through, throwing his 3 darts. But yeah, the standard of it didn't help the watch either, in that not only was it slow paced, it was also, we weren't seeing a great deal of quality other than sort of one decent check out, a ton plus from Mensah. But yeah, that was about it, really.
Yeah, Christian Perez didn't really get, well, he had chances. He had 11 darts at a double, so he had opportunities there. It didn't come to him at the right time. But Mensah Suljovic, an 83.98 average, not really something that's going to make people look at him. But I guess he's going to have to be on he's going to have to improve as the tournament goes on if he wants to go further.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, at the end of the day, in this early stage, a win's a win, isn't it? And it's a pretty comfortable win as well. He's got himself 3 legs on the leg difference there as well to put himself in a reasonable position to still go out there and try and qualify. So yeah, it wasn't his best performance, but we know he's capable of a lot better than that. So if he turns up and plays as he can certainly still make his way into the next round, and then from there, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess he didn't need to be at his best today to get the result. Exactly. So he's obviously got that first win on the board. The second game in that group, in Group B, was Danny Noppert, who everyone's sort of seen has come to such a rise in form recently. He put in a 99.98 average, so just under a ton average in beating Simon Whitlock. Pretty clinical from Noppy. He seems to be in pretty decent form and has been going quite well of late. Yeah,
it was just that, again, watching him, he's finding that first treble 20 with such regularity that you always fancy him to follow it anyway when he does. And there were only actually 2 180s in there, but you felt like every other visit he might hit one. And he played against a very good Simon Whitlock today, who played well in his first round game and has averaged basically a ton again. I mean, it looks quite comfortable 5-2, but it could quite easily have gone the other way. But Noppy did really well, and again, clinical on the doubles, like we say. he's one of those people that you always kind of fancy. If he's got one in hand at a double, you kind of think he's going to take it, and more often than not, he tends to.
Yeah, and he's riding high in the group at the moment. He's on 4 points in Group B, so he's looking in a very strong position. He'll come up against Mensur Suljovic next. For Simon Whitlock, though, you talked about a very good Simon Whitlock. He has to play Christian Perez for his opportunity to get through, and a win is probably going to be what he needs. You're probably going to be quite fancy that Simon Whitlock will make it through to the next round.
Yeah, I'll be honest, without giving too much away before we get into what we're going to predict for tomorrow. Yeah, that's where I'm going to be going.
Yeah, I think I might join you on that one. So we start with we move on to Group C, and it was the first match of the afternoon, I guess, and that was with Richie Edhouse and Lisa Ashton doing battle before Michael Smith and Joe Cullen took to the Oki. Richie Edhouse getting his first win on the board, Cam, and keeping his hopes of potentially qualifying alive.
Yeah, exactly that. Just kind of did what he needed to do. And again, it's kind of the same tale again, where we've had two players average fairly similar, only a couple of points in it on the average, but one of them at 40% on the doubles and one of them at 55, nearly 56, and that's what's making the difference in these sort of tightish games, where if you can give yourself the opportunities and you're taking over half of them every time, you're going to more often than not come out on top. I'll be honest, this game was not one that I saw fully. I had it on, but also, as we all know, I'm a Blackburn fan, so there was also a game going on at the same time when this one was on. But I'd probably rather been watching this, I'll be honest, after the outcome today. But
yeah, commiserations to on that one.
Yeah.
Burnley gave you a bit of a hide in there, but yeah, we won't talk about the football too much because you're in much higher position than Middlesbrough are, so I can't really say anything in particular.
There we are.
That says it all. A quick word on Lisa Ashton. Of course, she's now becoming quite a familiar face on the TV for us at these TV tournaments. What have you made of her so far? A 5-3 defeat to Michael Smith yesterday and a 5-2 defeat today. What have you made of her competition so far?
Yeah, I think it's been one where she'll probably be feeling a little bit like she's left a little bit out there. We know how good she is, and we know she's capable of a lot more than this, especially over the shortish format as well. And she's probably not quite done what she would have thought she would have done, because she's come up against Richie Edhouse averaging 85 today, and Michael Smith I don't think averaged much more than that yesterday against her. And while she may not have, well, I'm sure she goes in there believing she's going to win, but whether the rest of us thought she might get results out of these two games or not, if you'd offered her a chance to play those two playing at that level, rather than what we know that they're both capable of as well, she'd have been really fancying the chances and thinking, I could be coming away with 4 points here. And she's just not been quite clinical enough when she's needed to be. There's been too many scores that have been 45, 60s, where just that one extra treble might just make the difference and just give it that little bit more time at the end of the leg. Like, she only created 5 chances at double in this match, and that's probably what's let her down. Just the scoring phase slightly, where we know she can score heavily, and if she gets in amongst it, she can certainly do a lot more than this. But I think it is still the case that it's still fairly new for her every time she's up there. I know she's done it a few times now, but comparing it to, well, not so much Richie, because he's obviously in his early stages of playing up on the stage as well, but Michael Smith, who's done it week in, week out for the last however many years now, it is a different occasion for her than it is for them. And the more she does it, the more we're going to see her sort of compete.
Yeah, which would be great. Again, would be great to see her compete more, because as she competes more, as you say, she'll get a lot better, and she'll be able to take the experiences, I guess, that she's gained. Now, the other game in that group, in Group C, that was Michael Smith and Joe Cullen. I really saw this one as being an absolute cracker. Cam, and Michael Smith just had too much for Joe on the night.
He did. Yeah, I was with you on this one. I was expecting we were getting all 9 legs and it was going to be an absolute back and forth of just utter quality. But yeah, again, just Joe only created himself 3 dots and a double in the entire game, and he wasn't quite at the level we know he can play at. And Michael Smith was just a bit nearer to his better level that we know he can play at as well. And I think the scoring just kind of kept him ahead enough that he got a lot more opportunities and sort of, again, clinical, 50% on the doubles again. You don't lose many matches if you're at 50% on the doubles.
Yeah, and he is such a quick thrower, as Michael Smith. When his aim is on point, he's firing well. There isn't really anyone better to watch than the speedster that is Michael Smith in putting players to bed.
No, that's the thing. That's how, especially in the first to 5 game, like it can just get away from you in no time because he's that quick, and especially Joe's not slow either. So you're getting through legs at a rapid pace, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the exact timings on this one was, but I can't imagine it was more than 5 minutes, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the group is nicely poised in Group C. Michael Smith leads the way on 4 points, 2 wins from 2. Lisa Ashton is, of course, adrift at the bottom. Richie Edhouse is on 2, and Joe Cullen's on 2. So as things stand currently, Joe Cullen is ahead of Richie Edhouse in that group. But Richie has to play Michael Smith, and Joe Cullen has to play Lisa Ashton. So this one could go either way, really, couldn't it?
I mean, yeah, even Lisa can still qualify at this stage. I mean, it's going to take a bit of a turnaround in legs. I think she'd need to win 5-2, maybe, would get her. Will that work? Try and work it out. She's got -5 and Joe's at level. Yeah. So 5-2.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, that's obviously if Michael Smith beats Richie Edhouse as well. But yeah, anyone can still qualify here, obviously. And I mean, that's what we want to see in it. We love a little bit of drama on the last day of the group.
Yeah. I guess it's for me, definitely watching. It's a little bit better than the group stages where you've already got a player that's qualified. It's so nice when you've got the permutations of I have to win by 3 legs or I have to win by however many legs. It really is good when it comes down to that. We see it in cricket so much with net run rate and everything like that. You just don't know what's going to happen, and there's so many permutations to a game that can make or break your tournament.
Yeah, and on the plus side, this one's a little bit easier to work out as well than the net run rate is. Yeah. You're going, how many balls have we got to win by? But this is slightly easier. It's first to 5. We know how many legs you're gonna have to win by. It makes it a little bit easier for us. But it is a lot of fun when it comes down to it like that, and it's not just a win, but it's got to be a win by this many legs, and it keeps it interesting, doesn't it?
It does. It most definitely does. On to Group D. So we're nearly halfway through the groups now. Martin Schindler got the better of Adam Gowlas, 5-3, and then Dirk van Dijvenbode dispatched of Rob Cross. Before the group started, Marcel, this is quite an even opportunity for either players to get through, and it seemed as if Adam Gowlas just ran out of steam at the wrong time in his game against Martin Schindler.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's kind of exactly hit the nail on the head with that. It was a competitive game, and it was one that you kind of felt could have gone either way. But when it came down to it, Schindler's class probably just told a little bit there, and we know how improved he's been over the last sort of year, 18 months. He's sort of come back and playing really well. And I think when it came down to it, he just had that little bit more in the tank that got him over the line, really. Yeah,
and disappointment for Rob Cross as well in his match. 3-1. He was 3-1. He was up, and he then lost. Dirk van Dijvenbode reeling off the next 4 legs, but we can see how dominant Dirk can be, can't we? When he gets on a roll, and you don't really want to be in his way when that is the case.
Well, that's it, isn't it? With him, when he gets on that run, again, quick player, he can get away from you quite quickly. Obviously, Rob's a little bit more deliberate, but still not slow by any means. So it can, when those legs are getting reeled off quickly, it can get away from you quite quick. And once Dirk's fired up as well, he's like, as soon as he gets pumped up and he's giving it to the big one a little bit as well. Yeah, you kind of. You know where you stand with Dirk, don't you? Like, exactly. Yeah. Like, if he's beating you, he's going to let you know.
Yeah, 100%. Well, evening, Rose, I put that on the screen. She's in the chat room, watching on as always. The permutations for that group, Cam, are looking rather tasty going into the final round of matches. Dirk van Dijvenbode has to play Adam Gowler, so that pretty much, I think he's now through, because
Yes.
Martin Schindler and Rob Cross have to play each other, which will be a shootout for the next round. That one could be a quite tasty game for Rob Cross.
It could, yeah, because like we say, I mean, Martin Schindler is no pushover. Like he's one of the most improved on tour over the last couple of years, and yeah, you don't. He's another one who, once he gets into his rhythm as well, he can score heavily and he could put you under a lot of pressure. And yeah, I wouldn't be the one I'd fancy playing if I've got to beat him to get through.
Yeah, I know. Again, those are the games that make the tournament and the format of it so special, because you don't know which way it's going to go. On to Group E, and we saw Nathan Aspinall open that group up with a pretty comfortable victory over Fallon Sherrock. Sherrock missing 9 darts at a double. She just didn't get going, and on the stage, on games like this, you've got to take your chances, haven't you? Really.
You do, and that's the thing. Like we say again, I mean, she's won the first leg, and you're thinking, right, sort of fell over the line in the first leg as well. It wasn't sort of top quality, but you just thought that's what she needed. Settle her down. She can then go on and kick on from there. But Nathan just didn't let her do it. She created a few opportunities, like we say, but she never had a sort of a comfortable leg where you thought, oh, she should win this one from here. Then yes, there's a couple of opportunities at double, but I thought Nathan was just pretty clinical and just did exactly what he needed to do to get over the line.
And that has ended her hopes in the Grand Slam. 2-5-1 defeats against Pete Wright and Nathan Aspinall, respectively. How do you think she's going to be feeling, Cam, after the 2 games? She hasn't reached the heights that we know she can. Do you think she'll be a little bit disappointed?
I think so, yeah. I think she will be a little bit disappointed. I mean, she got dealt a pretty tough hand. I mean, it was as groups go, this is one of the tougher ones. We've seen Nathan back to some decent form recently. Peter Wright, we all know what he can do, and I mean, Alan Suter is absolutely no pushover at any point as well. He's going to fight for everything against you every time you're in there. So it was always going to be a tough ask to try and get out of this group, but I think she will be a little bit disappointed to be sat there with only 2 legs on the board after the first 2 games.
Yeah, 100%. And just quickly to run you through the standings in that group that we've seen so far. Nathan Aspinall in second at the moment, Fallon Sherrock at the bottom. But the other game in the group, Cam, and one that I can't even believe that Peter Wright has got himself out of the hole that he was in. How Alan Suter is not sat back in his hotel room with a win to his name. I can't even believe it, because Peter Wright has dodged a bullet in that one.
I'm absolutely with you on that one. I don't know how he's managed to win this game. It should have been 5-3 to Suter, done, wrapped up and finished. And then he still should have won it at 4-all as well. It was I don't know how to really describe this game. It wasn't bad by any means in terms of the standard, but again, I mean, Peter Wright's averaged in the 80s, and Suter's not put him away, and it's just come down to the doubles. I mean, you just can't average 28% on your doubles. It's just not good enough. And we know it's hard to get over the line, and that last double to get over the line is not easy whatsoever. But missing 6 in this game, I could kind of understand it more if it was tomorrow night or Tuesday night, as it'll be for this group, and it was right. We needed this one to get through to the next stage, and you go, all right, maybe I can understand the nerves a little bit more. But at this stage, you still got another chance tomorrow, so you kind of thought you would maybe be a little bit more relaxed over it and maybe take it out, but we didn't see it, and yeah, it was a bullet dodge for Peter Wright, who will be feeling a bit happier, I think, after that.
Yeah, you'd imagine. Dan Simpson's in the chat as well. So evening, Dan. For the permutations of that group, as I've just mentioned before, we talked about that game. Peter Wright is sitting handsome at the top. I think I'm not too sure whether he's safe or not. In
So
terms
he
of,
will play Nathan, won't he?
yes, he's still
Tomorrow.
got
So
Nathan to play.
not safe yet. Oh wait,
So
no, not safe yet
there's still
because
an opportunity for that group to go a little bit different than what we've seen.
yeah. So if he gets beat, obviously if he gets beat by Nathan, and then so just trying to work out the legs. So Wright's on +5 at the moment. So he loses, and then obviously Sousa puts Fallon away fairly comfortably. Then yeah, he could end up missing out still, which
Would be
it's always cruel. But we see it more often than not that someone will get 2 wins and not go through.
Yeah, we do see that very often. But yeah, Peter Wright in the driving seat as it stands in Group E. On to Group F, and the opening game in that one probably should have been, and I say probably should have been, a bit of a surprise in that one. Again, somehow Damon Heta got over the line against Leonard Gates. Cam, I don't know if you saw it. I was watching it at the time. What was he doing in the decider? For anyone that hasn't actually seen it, he left himself 70. He went for 18, leaving, which of course left 52. He's then gone straight for double 16, thinking that he was on 32.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's gone through his head there, but what a missed opportunity that was for Leonard Gates.
Yeah, it's one of those, and we come back to it so many times that it's your job to be able to count. And if you can't count, ask what you've got left. Because you can, I mean, for someone like Leonard Gates, he doesn't get a lot of opportunities up on the big stage. It's occasionally that we'll see him up there. Obviously, seen him at like the World Series events, things like that, but we're not seeing him week in, week out on the stage with the rest of them. You can't afford on your opportunities like this to not go through because you can't count. And it's not even you're hitting these shots so many times, and you're aiming at these numbers so many times that it's not even that you particularly have to count with a simple single number.
It's there
from what you're on. You know instinctively what it is, and yes, I know it's pressure up on the stage, and we can all have a bit of a moment now and then, but just take an extra second and just make sure you're going for the right the right number.
Yeah. I mean, Dan had spoke to us all in the group chat, hadn't he, about
Yeah,
what
Dan didn't hold back. It was safe to say.
Yeah, he didn't hold back. A good game, that one. Of course, Leonard Gates should have got over the line. Somehow Damon Heta lives to fight another day. And Johnny Clayton, well, he looked back to somewhere near his best by dispatching Jermaine Watamina. We've seen Watamina just on a bit of a downward spiral as of recently. And when you come up against a player like Johnny Clayton, you've got to be on your best to beat him. And he just wasn't today.
No, he wasn't. I mean, he had a really good win yesterday, but you kind of thought, are we seeing him spark back to some of the form that we could possibly see again going forwards? But no, it was he was nowhere near Johnny today. But Johnny's been utterly clinical in both games that he's played. I mean, I think he's the only one in the entire tournament that sat there with a perfect back-to-back 5-0. So you don't get many chances against Johnny Clayton, to be fair, especially when he's playing well. And it was very much just the clinical ferret that we've come to see, that he didn't do anything spectacular, but he just did what he needed to do to get it wrapped up and get off the stage and put himself through, I would imagine.
Yes, he's through. He's 2 5-0 wins. Means that he's qualified. But I know I said about Jermaine Watamina, and he was in a position where he's maybe seen a bit of a downward spiral. He still has a great opportunity in this group to qualify, doesn't he? If he can beat Leonard Gates, who's without a win on Tuesday, I believe. If he can pick up a win there, Cam, this could really be a bit of a spark that Jermaine Watamina maybe needs.
Exactly that. I mean, even like you say, even with that poor result for him today, he's still in the driving seat in that he's got a better leg difference than Damon Hess has, and he's up against Leonard Gates, who's not won a game yet. All he has to do is go out there and just do a better job on Gates than what Hesse does on Clayton, which, I mean, that's going to be tough for Damon to get a win in the first place, never mind sort of get it with enough of a swing in the leg difference as well to get him through. So, yeah, really big chance for him. And then, like you say, you can just take that one win sometimes, and then it clicks into gear on the next day, and who knows where it can take you.
Yeah, well, 100% in that one. Over to Group G, and we saw the European champion, or the recently crowned European champion, in action. Him and Michael van Gerwen were both in action in their games. Ross Smith starting off with a clinical victory over Nathan Rafferty, and it really is hard to find any negatives about Ross Smith's game at the moment.
No, he's just very, very good at the moment. I mean, that, like you say, that final win over Michael Smith was just an unbelievable standard throughout that he played, and he's just kind of taking it on with him as well, and just played really well, because Nathan didn't play particularly badly either, but it's just really, really good on the outer ring again from Ross Smith. I mean, he just looks just unflappable when he's on the outer ring almost, which wasn't something you could say about him for quite some time. And sort of when it came down to it, he wasn't always the one that you would put your house on getting over the line when it mattered. But these big wins can do a lot for people in terms of the confidence, and he looks like he's taken that into this.
Yeah, and you talked about the word clinical. Well, that was exactly what Michael van Gerwen was against Luke Woodhouse. Despite going 1-0 down to a big 1-2-9 checkout from the Englishman, Michael van Gerwen reeling off 5 straight legs. Again, just short of a ton average. Michael van Gerwen, is cruising his way through the group stages.
Yeah, absolutely. Just making it look really easy. I mean, when that 1-2-9 went in leg one, lovely finish on the ball from Luke, and you just kind of thought, oh, have we got a game on here? And then very quickly, Michael went, no, we haven't. And he just literally just went through and wrapped it up. I mean, he only gave Luke one other shot at a double in the entire game. So, yeah, just like I say, clinical again. Hitting 50% of his doubles again. I'm starting to sound a little bit like a broken record, but with seeing people just go in there, and the scoring's good. If you're scoring anywhere near around 100 average, and you're hitting half your doubles, you're not going to get beat very often.
Yeah, and of course we could potentially see the Group G in that one, in which we have all 3 players on 4 points. Michael van Gerwen's at the top at the moment on 4 points, 2 wins from 2. Ross Smith's in a commanding position on 2 points, but then Luke Woodhouse has to play Nathan Rafferty in his last game, so there's an opportunity here which someone quite big could miss out in that group. And finally, Cam, before we go on to the predictions for tomorrow, I know there's less games than there was today. Group H had us to finish off the day. Josh Rock getting over the line against Scott Williams, 2 debutants in the competition, and it lived up to probably what we all expected.
Yeah, 2 quality players, like you say, first time up there. If there's one person I don't want to play right now, it's Josh Rock.
Yeah,
like I would be very, very worried if I drew him in the first round of the Worlds. So he's played some fantastic stuff all year, and he's taking it onto the stage now and doing it there as well. Just scoring power there, the finishing, the big checkouts there when he needed it as well. It's just a really good game, like you say, and we all love a last leg decider, and to throw a 13 darter when you've got that last leg decider, try and get yourself over the line. It's very, very impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, he had missed 6 match darts, so it could have been a little bit easier for Josh Rock in the match, but he gets over the line. It really seems as if, as you mentioned there, no one wants to really draw him in the first round at the World Championships, and Josh Rock still has the opportunity here that he can go quite deep in this tournament.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I say, he's one of them players that you don't want to play him right now, and you're going to feel a little bit up against it going in there against him, because you beat him, you're probably not going to get the credit that you deserve for it, and you could quite easily be on the wrong end of a comfortable defeat as well. So yeah, he's got a really good chance here still to go through, and like I say, he's kind of not in the pole position because we know what Luke Humphries has done. We'll come to that in a second, but he's still in that position where if he wins, he pretty much goes through. So
yeah, and the final game of the evening of the day, that was of cool hand Luke Humphries, who absolutely dispatched Ryan Searle with the highest average of the tournament so far, 107.04. I think again the word clinical comes to mind, Cam. That was a pretty impressive performance from Luke Humphries.
Yeah, this was sort of probably looked like it could be the game of the day after 2 legs. And Ryan Searle didn't really drop his level at all, but just got absolutely punished. Like, he missed, I think, 2 darts, was it, to go 2-0 up? And from there onwards, he was, without doing anything particularly wrong, wasn't in the game whatsoever, because Luke Humphries just absolutely battered him, and a 107 average doesn't really do it justice. It seemed even better than that watching it.
Yeah.
Again, the finishing, we didn't see him take out anything outrageous, but it was just clinical.
Yeah, that group is holding up nicely. There's only one place left to play for because Luke Humphries has qualified with a +7 leg difference on 4 points. Josh Rock, he has to play Luke Humphries in the final game of the group stages. Ryan Searle will play against Scott Williams. So again, that could go either way. A quick word on Ryan Searle, Cam. I guess I know if it was anyone else playing against Luke Humphries, you may hope that Luke Humphries will get the job done, but maybe he has to hope for a bit of a favour here, because I hope that Luke Humphries gets over, because Ryan Searle's a quality player, but he kind of has to hope that Humphries hits his form again and dispatches of Josh Rock, because Rock ain't going to go away easily, is he really?
No, he's definitely not, and like you say, I mean, Rock's got that 3-leg advantage on him in terms of the leg difference going into the last 2 games as well. So he needs a bit of a favour, and the worry for Ryan Searle is going to be the fact that Luke Humphries doesn't need to win. So whether he's as switched on and concentrating as he needs to be, for Ryan's sake at least, we'll obviously wait and see. But then again, we know how good Luke Humphries is, and I mean, they're all professionals. They're also going to turn up and play properly. No one's going to give anyone a free ride through. I mean, when that boy relaxes and plays well, he can. If it doesn't matter, he might even throw in a higher average than he did today.
Yeah, well, that would be pretty exceptional, but something that we wouldn't be surprised about. Well, Dan Simpson has replied to the banner on the bottom. He says performance of the day is easy. Raymond van Barneveld, I have to agree with you there, Dan. That was a pretty incredible performance. Well, tomorrow we get started at 7:15 at the Grand Slam of Darts, and it's Group A, B, C, and D in action. Again, the permutations will be great, and of course they'll explain it to you as we get closer to that. Cam, again, I'll start Group A. Your predictions, myself predictions as well. You can let us know in the chat room what you think, which way you think it'll go. The 2 games to talk about: Rain van Barneveld versus Ted Everts and Going Price versus Dave Chisnell. Which way do you think these games are going to go, Cam?
I think that Barney beats Ted Everts and secures his place. Did we say he'd already secured his place? We did, didn't we?
I think.
Yeah, of course he has, because they've got to play each other.
Yeah.
I still think he wins. I think he wins 5-3. And then I just think when he needs it, Desi's got a little bit more than Chizzy and can just turn it on a little bit more at the switch of the button. And I think he wins 5-4. I think he takes him all the way, but I think he wins 5-4. So we see Price join Barney in the next round.
Yeah, I could near enough agree with them. I think Raymond van Barneveld will beat Ted Everts. I think he wins 5-2. But I think Going Price wins. Yeah, I would probably go. I'm going to go 5-3 again with you, Cam. I think Going Price turns it up just about. But as I pops on the screen there, Dan Simpson saying Barney and Chizzy both win for me. So Dan thinking that Chizzy will get over the line in that one, and that would essentially mean that he would qualify into Group B then, and it's Simon Whitlock versus Christian Perez. We talked a little bit about that earlier on, and Danny Noppert against Mensah Suljovic. I kind of see this going one way, to be honest, Cam, but do you see an upset at all?
No, no, not at all. I can't see one. I think Whitlock wins 5-1. I think Perez might get a leg, but I think it's going to be very, very easy for Simon. I think he's playing well from what I've seen over the last two days. So I think he will do that, and then obviously that at that point pretty much then relegates Suljovic to having to beat Noppert 5-0, which once that result's gone, which I think will go quite early. I think Noppy will get a leg or two on the board quite early, and I think he'll then cruise on and win 5-2 probably.
Yeah, well, Colin saying there, Whitlock and Noppy to win the group. Yeah, I think Whitlock will get the job done. I think he wins 5-0, and I think Danny Noppert wins 5-2 in that game. But again, you never know what's going to happen. Stranger things have happened, so we'll have to see how that goes. Into Group C, because I know we've been talking now for about 45 minutes or so. Joe Cullen opens up in that group against Lisa Ashton before Michael Smith takes on Richie Edhouse. Cam, again, the permutations are still there. This group could go either way.
Yeah, it could. But I think we see the top two that are the top two now be the top two at the end of it as well. So I think we'll see. First up, I think Joe will beat Lisa. I think it'll be similar to what we've seen for Lisa already, in that she'll get a couple of legs on the board. She'll probably have another couple of chances as well, but Joe just sort of do enough and win. I think 5-2 for Joe.
Yeah.
And I think Michael Smith beats Richie Edhouse by the same scoreline.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dan, both 5-1, Cullen and Smith to get the job done in that one and go through as we probably would predict. And finally, of course, into Group D. These are the last matches in the game. Dirk van Dijvenbode and now Adam Gowlas. I think they get us underway in the action tomorrow night. And then it's, of course, Rob Cross and Martin Schindler. Dirk van Dijvenbode, the Cameras got through, so it doesn't matter, and Adam Gowlas has been eliminated. Do you think that game will be a bit straightforward for Dirk to get through? Well, to strengthen his position?
I think so, yeah. I do think we'll see him come out on top in that game. 5-3 maybe. It might not be sort of the standard we know we can play at, because it's a game for both of them that it doesn't particularly matter. But yeah, I think we'll see him win.
Yeah, and the big one the one that I saved for last, just to chat about for a little while, or Rob Cross versus Martin Schindler. We know Rob Cross has not been the form that we've seen in the past. Do you think Martin Schindler will be sensing a bit of an upset here to snatch a place in the next round?
I think he'll absolutely fancy it. Yeah, I think he'll be right up for this. Last game of the night as well, I believe. So keep them both waiting as well on the sort of decider for who wins and who goes through. Yeah, so I think it could well be the game of the night as well as being the last game of the night. And I think Martin Schindler wins it 5-4.
Wow, that would be, I guess, not an upset really, because we know how good Martin Schindler can be. I probably would stick with I think Dirk van Dijvenbode wins 5-1 in his match, and I think, oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go Rob Cross, but I'm going to go 5-4. I think it really comes to the last leg.
Yeah.
And the crowd are behind him. It really could go to that. But Cam, of course, that sort of brings to an end our predictions. We've looked at the permutations of what's going to happen and everything. But as we come to the latter stages of the group, the first four groups, we're really in for quite an exciting evening of darts tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we are. And like I say, there's a lot of real quality ties in there that we're going to see I'm going to see some very good performances, I think, from certain individuals in there that need to get a result. Like I say, I think the game between Gezi and Chizzy is going to be an absolute cracker. And then we're just building up to that last one of the night where it's winning you through. And I think, like I say, I think it will quite well be the game of the night as well.
Well, definitely, we'll finish on that one. So that's all from day 2 at the Grand Slam of Darts. A huge thank you again to BoyleSports for sponsoring our coverage of the Grand Slam. I know we didn't get any sort of interviews or anything that Phil has done and conducted after the games, but you know exactly where to find them on the Online Darts YouTube channel, where you can see all of the post matches with the winners. So great to have a look through them. But for myself and Cam, thank you very much for tuning in, for getting involved, for listening and watching this evening. Have an enjoyable rest of the weekend. And of course, we will see you all bright and early tomorrow for another day of darting action.